see you guys in the dark.
Back in 2022, I had met Wilton Wallace on Hinge. I'm from Victoria, Australia. He was from Queensland, but working in Victoria and was 28 at the time. I was 24. We hit it off, and within a day of chatting, he asked to meet me in the city for drinks. He seemed friendly and cute, so why not get dressed up and give him a chance? Funny enough, my spidey sense were tingling already, but I just thought it was the usual nerves of a first date. I should have trusted my gut, but he hadn't given me any red flags yet. He met me at Flinders Street Station. First impression was he dressed really nice, suit and long coat. He clearly took pride in his looks. Instantly he was super affectionate, way more than I'm used to. Kissed my cheek, picked me up, squeezed the crap out of me. We were hand in hand from the get-go, although I was already taken aback. He was of Brazilian descent, and I know their culture can be quite forward. I wasn't overly alarmed, but this was within 10 seconds of meeting. So we decided to go for drinks, and he recommends the very well-known fancy bar. I'm just a nurse, so way above my pay grade, but he said he would cover the whole night. It becomes apparent very quickly he's super chivalrous, charming, and a sweet talker. It felt like a soppy 2000s rom-com. I can't lie about that. He was super open about his life, and because he was, so was I. We had so much in common, and everything just felt right. It makes me want to gag now I know the real him. If it feels too good to be true, it probably is. He had told me his family had a business and were very well off, but lost it somehow. Think he had said his dad had died. His mom couldn't afford to care for him and his four sisters alone, so she gave him up for adoption. And then he moved to Portugal. I guess he was the runt of the litter because his mom kept his four sisters. So he grew up in Portugal from about 5 until he was 17 when he decided to move back to his biological mother. He said his Portuguese family were lovely, but incredibly religious. And he didn't like the constraints, arranged marriages, no boinking before marriage type deal. So at 17, he moved back to Brazil and built his relationship with his biological mother. And eventually, he decides to move to Australia. He moved over to study some aerodynamic bullshit degree of some kind. I don't give a flying fuck about it. Fast forward about 11 years to 2022. He now works in Queensland as some manager for shipping companies and flies to and from Melbourne for work every single 2 weeks. Now that we're all sped up, let's get back to the date. I had a traumatic upbringing. I was neglected, raised in poverty by my grandparents, so on. So hearing all of that really touched me. The man handed me the palm of his slimy little hands. I felt like he was cocky and had an ego on him, but he even mentioned he came across cocky, and even assured me that's how some people perceive him, and he's not like that at all. The date is progressing, and he was ticking on so many boxes it wasn't funny. We spoke about how I love to dance and always wanted to learn salsa. So he had suggested a studio that does weekend night classes, but it had sold out. So he asked if I wanted to go back to his place just to hang out. I don't know what this man had put in my drink, but my common sense was gone. I told him I needed to go home before midnight and was only coming over to talk. Anyway, we get to his apartment, and like the scene from Crazy Stupid Love, he lights candles, puts on salsa music, pours a heavy glass of red for us, and asks if he can teach me how to salsa in his tiny living room. Like, was I Kate Hudson in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? I obliged because my fanny flutters are in full control of my functioning at this point. We end up making out, and things get hot and heavy, but I stuck to my guns, and I didn't let him pass my chastity belt. Don't get me wrong, I have won night stands before, but I had turned a new leaf, and my rule was now 3 dates minimum. Long story short, but not short at all. We ended up falling asleep together. I was fully clothed. How about that? We woke up the next morning, and he took me out for breakfast before ordering me an Uber home. Keep in mind this was the one and only time I physically had met him, and it was PG related. A few days later, things were getting really weird. He started making all these gestures and love bombing me. Without asking me, he brought me lingerie. He bought me jewelry for my birthday, just 1 week after we had met, and then the grand prize, an all-exclusive holiday to Queensland. I said yes. YOLO, right? Like literally. I might die, but at least my tombstone would say I was living my best life. He told me on the trip that we'd go to private restaurants that his friends had owned, a helicopter ride, and a cruise on a yacht, amongst a bunch of other completely insane things. He paid for the flights and told me not to bring lingerie because he had that covered. My red flag alarms were going off at this point. Like, is he a sugar daddy? Or am I about to get trafficked into lingerie and jewelry? Think about it. The dude works for a shipping company. Perfect way to ship me off to the market. So at this point, my stomach is turning, and I'm getting suspicious. I realized I hadn't really done much digging on him, and if I was going interstate with this wet sock, I needed to know everything about him. I spent hours with my housemate investigating him. His Facebook was on total lockdown, and his Instagram had no signs of followers or family. He barely had any tagged photos with people, and the photos he did have were from years ago in Brazil. All the photos he had were just him solo and traveling. So I started questioning everything. Was his name even Walton Wallace? Doesn't sound Brazilian or Portuguese. It sounds much more like Donald Duck or Chucky Mouse to me. We searched his number on my bank app using Pay ID. Lo and behold, W. Vega dos Santos comes up. I'm shitting bricks right now. Like, who the hell is this toenail I've been wasting my time with? So I go deeper. I'm going through all of his Insta follows, looking for any remnants of him. I find a mutual in the deep and dark cave I've got myself into. A group of photos of him around 2016 holding a Brazilian woman that looks about 35. And the comments mentioning, love you both, can't wait to see you two again. Couldn't confirm if they were married, but that's where my money was at. I dig more in to find out who she is. I can't find anything, but I have a lead on what her name might be. So I head to Google and search both her and his name. After sitting through countless pages, I can't read because they're in Spanish and poorly translated. I find a document. It's a civil dispute, but both their names were there. To my delight, his full name in case was Walton Wallace Vegas dos Santos. I don't blame him for going by the easiest of the five names, but one truth doesn't fix a track of lies. At this point, I'm thinking that he's just divorced and doesn't post a lot. No, while doing our investigation, I had asked him to send his passport to my friend so that she had our details when I went to Queensland to be safe. He sends me his passport after hours of waiting and had blacked out all of his info covering his face. Dumbass didn't even cover his date of birth well enough because we could look at that. This absolute toad was born in 1986, making him 36. Now I saw through his bullshit, but I wanted to flip the game for a little while. I had to do it for the plot. I confronted him about it. He made up some shit about how he was registered in Portugal and they stuffed up the date. Didn't know a 5-year-old could look 13. There you have it. Over the next few weeks, he kept canceling and changing Queensland date, and before each, rescheduling the flight. There was always another issue. I went along with it. I had no intention of going, but wanted to see his cunning plot come to fruition. Maybe it wasn't trafficking. Maybe he was going to magically lose all his money and get cancer and need my help to survive. And then I get a message that broke the camel's back. His grandmother in Portugal was sick, so he had to fly there ASAP. I literally laughed when I read it. I was super short and apathetic with him. Next day, Grandma died of a stroke. Boo hoo. Some may think that I was digging too far at this point, but I ended up messaging her on Instagram photo and legal document because I had a horrible gut feeling there was more of all of this. And I was sick of the games and definitely felt like I was crossing a line, but I had to know somehow. She ended up messaging me back. She unfortunately did know him and wanted to tell me everything over the phone. What she had told me blew my mind. This dude was the biggest narcissist, pathological lying, cheating scumbag I had ever had the displeasure of knowing. He had lied about everything. He was 36, born and raised by his mom and dad in Brazil his entire life. He had brothers, not four sisters. He never lived in Portugal. Grandmother was still alive and kicking. He had studied social work and was now studying to become a psychotherapist. Nothing to do with Arrow, whatever the hell he said he did. I don't even know what the shipping container place was or what it had to do with anything. He was the same suave and caring man to his ex-wife, who he married in Brazil, and then they moved to Queensland shortly after. As soon as they arrived, he became financially and emotionally abusive to her, refused to get a job. She worked and paid all of the bills. His social work degree, random business trips, and whatever else the scumbag pretended that he needed. After being in Queensland for 5 years, she had gotten a message from a 24-year-old Australian girl. They had been dating for 3 years. They'd met in uni, and he'd been using her to do all his university work. She had told the same story as me, but the poor thing never questioned it. She believed the crap about his age, too. She realized through a mutual friend that saw a photo of him and said she thought that he was married. So Wilton and his wife get divorced, and the 24-year-old kicks him to the curb. But only a year later, another girl reaches out to his now ex-wife. Same story. Now I was the third girl to reach out to her. Now my guess is he has a few more girls on the go. His plans probably keep changing because of them, and one of them probably pays for all his plane trips every few weeks. The jewelry and lingerie were probably from some other woman's hard-earned money as well. I was furious. I ended up ghosting him because that's the best way to piss off a narcissist. He messaged me for weeks on text, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook. Eventually, I decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. I told him I knew some things, and he needed to come clean right now. I never mentioned what or how I knew, but he told me he would be fully transparent and fly down to Melbourne to see me. He probably thought I knew 1% of the truth. I thought about actually seeing him and seeing what bullshit he would come up with next, but I was done with him. I told him I was about 5 hours from the city, in a town that's so small there's only one train to get there a day. I said I couldn't pick him up from the airport, but he could stay a few days. I'd show him the real Australian country, and I would drive him back to the airport at the end of his visit. So after catching a 2.5 hour flight and sitting on a train for 5 hours to go to the middle of nowhere, I asked him to send a photo of where he was so I can find him. He actually had done it. I was at home in my pajamas watching a movie, and he was at a train station in the train, 5 hours away from the airport and stuck until the very next day. Pure gold. I could only imagine how pissed he would have been. I sent him a message that I had ready and waiting for that exact moment. I waited for a reply, so I knew that he got it, then blocked the piece of shit on everything and never looked back. I matched with a guy on Tinder one day. The conversation had gotten spicy, and I gave him my number so we can continue chatting. We texted that night and never exchanged photos or nudes or anything like that. Never made plans to meet up. The conversation had died, and I forgot all about him. Weeks go by, and I deleted the conversation. Then late one night, I get a lewd photo of a man I don't recognize. I think of insulting them, but decide to just delete it and not respond to them. A few weeks later, I get another one. I have the idea to check my deleted messages to make sure I don't know them. Sure enough, I found out it's the Tinder guy. It's really weird of them to text me a month later, just lewd images after no contact or anything for over a month. Ew. So I just blocked them. A couple weeks later, I get another lewd video on my Apple Watch. It's the same guy. I'm not sure how I got the message on my watch if I already blocked his number. I blocked him again on my watch. What a weirdo, I think. A week later, I leave my apartment to go on a walk. I see him. He is right there in front of my apartment walking towards me. He has the same outfit as his profile photos, and same tattoos and hat, so I am certain that it is him. I never mentioned where I lived. I'm really freaked out at this point, but I'm dressed in baggy clothes and recently changed up my hair color, so I keep my head down in hopes that he doesn't recognize me. I walk right past him. I was so scared to look at him, to see his reaction if he recognized me. I was too scared to look back in his direction to see where he went, so I just kept walking forward. I was really freaked out, but nothing else had happened after that, and I never saw them again. I never mentioned where I lived, so my only thought is he must have used my phone number to look me up. It was the least likely person I would have expected. Just some random person I messaged for only one day on Tinder. Even though the lewd content they sent, I still thought they were just a regular pervert. I never expected them to somehow show up at my apartment. They didn't even text a word to me or attempt to meet up. They just send lewds over 2 months and suddenly just appear. I thought that their motive was definitely something sexually perverted. It gave me creeps to think about what they wanted, but I'm glad that they just left me alone. I never give out my real phone number to dates anymore.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.